Hi everyone, welcome back to a yet delayed video of Unmuted. So, if you haven't been aware yet by my various social media posts, it is ALS Awareness Month here in Canada. I am so excited, and you're seeing me in this Getty Up because I just finished an awareness video, which I'm very excited for. And of course, we had to make some cuts and provisions to it. So this ALS Awareness Month, I'd like to promote one of the very first members who joined my team in ALS, Carrie Lynn Finlay, the member partner for South Surrey White Rock, who's quickly going to go over why this month is so important and what ALS Awareness Month is all about. Go for it, Carrie Lynn.
Hello, my name is Carrie Lynn Finlay, and I am the Member of Parliament for South Surrey White Rock. June marks the beginning of ALS Awareness Month here in British Columbia. ALS is a tragic disease that gradually paralyzes people, and those diagnosed lose the ability to walk, talk, eat, swallow, and breathe over time. Every year, about 1,000 Canadians are diagnosed with ALS, and another 1,000 Canadians will die from the disease. There is currently no cure for ALS, with very few treatment options. The ALS Society of BC provides direct support to ALS patients along with their families and caregivers. The move to cure ALS will be taking place during several communities across BC in the month of June and is essential to raising funds for the ALS Society of BC. The ALS community is resilient and courageous, and it is imperative that we support them during this special month. Thank you.
Now, I grant you, this will be a pretty much very shorter video than probably my past podcasts. It probably won't be too long. But I want to discuss the importance of awareness and why it's so important. And the whole point we're making this video, and this is going to come out before we do, before I probably finish editing the other bigger video for the actual awareness cause, where we're putting together a work where members of Team ALS have come together to make this video happen. But it is so important to build awareness, and that's what this video is going to be about. I want to do a few episodes of different stuff covering ALS because of this month, but it is so important we go over this. ALS is so unknown. I mean, yes, it affects a small number of people, but that doesn't mean it doesn't affect a broader range in the long term. And this disease is growing. ALS is seeming to become more and more frequent. And don't think this can't happen to you. Believe me, I was in that boat once. I was in that boat until the age I turned, 22 is when my dad was diagnosed with ALS. And don't think it can't happen to you either. Don't think it can't happen to a loved one or yourself. It will creep up and ruin your life and just destroy everything around you, and you will come crumbling down. What we're doing this for is for not just the people who have ALS today. It's so the future people who get diagnosed with ALS have the treatments available to them, so they can continue their lives as is without having to go through this destructive process. It's not right. And we have to do everything we can to move forward, which is why, we're doing this. ALS Awareness Month is probably, I would say, the least known month, probably tied with MS Awareness Month, which was last month in May. I bet most people watching this didn't even know this month was ALS Awareness Month. Did ya? And don't lie. And please put down a comment, because I do want to know, did you know this month was ALS Awareness Month? And if you didn't, share it. Let's call that the punishment for not knowing it was ALS Awareness Month. And if you're a friend and you only know it's ALS Awareness Month because you've seen my social media, that doesn't count. So share it anyway. And if you haven't, share it anyway. Share the video, share my ALS Awareness video. It's probably going to come out in the next week, before the end of the next week or so. But we need to share this kind of stuff. We need awareness. Nothing gets done if no one knows anything about it. And frankly, ALS should have the same kind of coverage as diseases like cancer, as autism. Yet ALS, because it affects less people, doesn't deserve the same spotlight. Unlike probably most diseases on the planet, ALS has a death rate of 100%. Let's be a bit liberal and say, or let's be a bit conservative, about it, and let's say it's 99.9%. Still, probably one of the most painful and deadly diseases on the planet. Now, I might not be totally correct on that, but it's the only one I can think of. And yet, we don't have the proper treatment. In fact, I've gotten excuses why from government officials and health people and health portfolios tell me we don't want to support it in case it could come out in poor results or come out in a way where it gives you bad press or you support something that didn't work or had bad side effects. Bad side effects to a disease that kills you. To a disease that kills you. Not a 50% chance it'll kill you. It will kill you. You're dying. But we don't want to support treatment because something can go wrong. Now, either you're outright ignorant and didn't listen to the thing I said when I talked to you, for those who made that BS excuse. No, I'm going to say actually, because it is bullshit and excuse things sit there that, oh my goodness, something might go wrong. No, you know what that tells me? You care about your own liability and nothing else. Your own liability is more important than people who are dying. That's what that tells me. And don't tell me any different. Don't tell me you're sitting there, it could cause harm. The disease can do, it's killing you painfully, slowly and surely, shutting down your organs and body one piece at a time. There's really nothing else that can be done to you that's not going to be a painful and agonizing and demoralizing death. So don't sit there and say, I'm not accepting this because it can go wrong in some way. The alternative is death. I would rather live with an uncomfortable rash on my behind for the rest of my life than have to deal with losing every little function every single second as this disease presses on. Now, I'm a bit aggressive because I take that personally to heart, where people care more about their own liability. This is why awareness is important to the average Canadians. And unfortunately, some politicians won't act unless it's popular amongst the masses. Why do you think I've only got 24 MPs to join me on so far? 2 of which have rejected to join the team, Patty Hajdu and Michelle Rempel-Garner. These 2 have refused to sign on letters. These 2 have refused to even meet with me in any way. They refused. They even demanded we cut back on our letters and our demands. The ask was to bring specific treatment, and that was too much. Still. No. And I'm done playing nice to those who stop and halt the progress of ALS. And thank goodness both of those MPs were removed from their portfolios because they did nothing good for the health of Canadians. And I don't just mean ALS. I can go on forever how these 2 did very little. While they focused on the battling of COVID, which needed to be fight, don't get me wrong, we needed to take on the pandemic. But when you are on a profile of the Minister of Health, the Shadow Minister of Health, you're not just COVID. If that was such a priority, you should have gone to your respective leaders and say, hey, COVID is so big, let's make it its own file, its own ministry, or its own minister of a sub-ministry within the Health Canada region, and deal with it there. So that way you have one person dealing with COVID, and then the health minister can deal on actual health matters affecting that had far more deadly consequences than COVID did. Now, I don't want to play light on the fact that COVID did kill people. It made people suffer and painfully live through it. I don't want to make light of that. But it annoys me to see Health Canada fast-packed treatments, barely tested for a disease that has a very low death rate. Yet ALS treatments take so long that companies, pharmaceutical companies and trials, aren't even trying to come here anymore. I mean, back in 2017 is really when this started. A company called Brainstorm had a treatment of the neuron, wanted to come to Canada. According to Brainstorm, which I absolutely fully believe, because we have yet to see Health Canada's story, but I absolutely believe they ignored this request, took forever to get back to them. So at least the people at Neuron understood this disease needed to be dealt with right now, went to the United States. Right now it's in 4th trials in the United States. Used actively in Israel. South Koreans, the Japanese, Germans, you name it. The British, Europeans across Europe have access to various treatments. The United States has a number of trials being opened up right now. Canada takes us pretty much a year to access treatment. We don't have time to waste sitting here while bureaucrats in their high golden thrones decide how quickly treatments get pushed. And I get there's a little self-affirm of how quickly things get passed in Health Canada. I don't doubt that for a single second, and neither should you. Frankly, if I was health minister, half of Health Canada would be cleared out. That's just me. But bureaucrats are sitting at the head dictating what goes where, and I have no doubt money flows the way. But because there's only 3,000 people suffering with ALS a year in Canada, doesn't really do much for that. But people dying is something a health ministry shouldn't care about. Yes, that should sound odd. You should look confused by that statement, because it's exactly what they're doing, which boggles my mind. That a disease like COVID gets fast-tracked with a vaccine so quickly, but a disease that's been around, or at least known for over 150 years, and we still have to go through vigorous trials and treatments, or trials and reviews that take years. I'm speechless of that. And if you're one of those people saying our healthcare is a dream, you probably haven't had to rely on it too much. Believe me, our healthcare is a joke. Anyone who wants to stand with our healthcare, go talk to someone with a terminal illness. I doubt they would have the same reaction you would about our healthcare. Let's go through the numbers. And this is from the Fraser Institute, who have done these numbers. Go check them out yourself. You can see them yourself. They have them online. Canada has second for the most money put in the healthcare in the world. I believe we're behind Switzerland. We second most country put money into healthcare. We don't come top 10 in most things. I know what I think we come top 10 is administration. If that's where our healthcare is going, to build offices and people to get us on the phone, and our admin offices, and more presidents and more vice presidents, more directors of, Eastern Healthcare, blah, blah, blah. People with pointless titles who don't do anything, or at least not enough, or slow down the processes. That's where our healthcare money is going. We are not in the top 10 of ICU equipment, of hospital beds, nurses, doctors, manufacturing of medical equipment, PPE equipment. We are nowhere near the top 10 of any of these issues. If we are, we're just below the top 10. May I remind you, second highest paying country in the world. The world. There are countries that spend half that we do that have more nurses, doctors, hospitals, hospital beds, hospital equipment, updated equipment, huge ERs, the slow wait times. There's no excuse for it. The money we put in is majorly going to bureaucrats and to admin, to building offices, making sure that all these offices have nice chairs, new computers, fancy crap. while there are people in Canada living in third world conditions in hospitals. I had a friend tell me when they were in the hospital, they had to have someone in a hospital in the hallway about getting a cancer diagnosis. They didn't even have the dignity to get their own private room or to at least get a covered door or sheet to tell them something very personal and private as their daughter's sitting at the end of the bed on the floor. And their wife's, having to sit on the floor crying as they get a diagnosis. No sense of decency, of privacy for this kind of diagnosis. Out in the bloody hallway. That's our healthcare system. And if it sounds a lot like a country like Mexico or somewhere in Southeast Asia, no, that's Canada. Canada. That happens in hospitals here in Canada. Our healthcare system is not good. And to the glorious NDP who love to champion this because they're the ones who came up with the idea of the free healthcare thing, which I don't disagree with. We should have access to healthcare. But don't champion what it's become. Because it's not good. It's a terrible system. Done terribly. And people are suffering. Yes, it works if you have a broken arm or a nose or if something happens, that with basic medicine can solve it, even the most basic hospital around the world. But when it comes to the advancements of healthcare, we are so far behind it's not even funny. And it's not right. But these things need to be built awareness of. And it's why I say awareness is important. And as long as we keep pandering to the NDP that this is a good healthcare, they're going to keep saying it. I laugh at the face of any NDPer and almost actually want to scream at them and give me an example. What is good about our healthcare? Sure, you don't have to pay. Well, unless you take an ambulance, you do have to pay. But, sure, you don't have to pay for a broken arm. Whoop-de-frickin' do. Most Canadians have to go to other countries to get proper diagnoses for more rare and terminal illnesses. My dad had to go to the United States to get a proper diagnosis because they weren't 100% sure if he had ALS or not here. There's clinics in the United States that can tell you that. Why aren't we using our health care to buy or try and get these clinics up here and set them up? I know we have the money for it. How about we close one of these pointless Health Canada offices and start building these types of ALS or rare terminal illness clinics? How about we start buying more hospital beds, putting more programs to hiring nurses and doctors, making it more incentive for, especially in rural communities, building up rural hospitals. Like, if you freaking believe that healthcare is equal across Canada, no, it's not. And if you're someone who says, yeah, it's equal across Canada, you're probably from Vancouver, Toronto, or Montreal, a big city who doesn't have to worry about healthcare because you're in the big city. You have a children's hospital. You have somewhat updated equipment that's lax. You go to Europe, Japan, Taiwan, Israel, pretty much anywhere else in the modern world, our hospitals are pretty much dumps compared to those places. I guarantee you. But, it is what it is. But that's what I said. Awareness is important. Awareness is so important. Not just for ALS, but most importantly for ALS, not just ALS. So many issues right now in Canada that just get swept under the rug or get pushed out of the spotlight because this issue seems more important because society deems it more important. And if you're one of those people who sits and gets mad at politicians for not taking action on these kind of issues, my first question always, what have you done about it? If you've never talked to your MP, MLA, MPP, wherever you're from in Canada, on a different level of government, or depending on the government or what you're trying to get solved, if you're mad at your politician not taking action, my first question is, have you talked to them? About 95%, the answer is no. Because most people have the attitude and the belief that politicians don't care, they won't do anything, or they have no power to do anything. Depending on the issue, it could be true. Depending on the politician, it could be true if they care or not. But I think most MPs will try and help you, or they should. But I think a good chunk of them will. I actually think most of them will. I think most of them are decent people. who get bogged down by dumb stereotypes. But I digress. I thought this video was going to be a lot shorter. That's what you get for getting me going on rants. I go pretty far. But it is something to rant about. The suffering of thousands of Canadians. And the best we can do is yearly long reviews. There's a reason we're not getting treatments here. It's one, they don't want to come here. I've even heard treatments are deciding to leave the approval process because it's so brutal. Rare terminal illnesses should prioritize Health Canada's time and approval process for treatments and drugs. Not take even longer. That's my opinion. That's how I think it should be done. And I think there's a lot to do on the healthcare side that's not being done, that other countries have mastered, that we refuse to do because it would take the spotlight away from the partisan politics that say, we did it, so we want to keep the fame and the light. I guarantee that's why some of these NDP and Liberal politicians who champion our healthcare, because they're the ones who approve the process. Why should we take that away and lose our glory of what we did and admit we have a bad system? Because we do. We have a bad system. Don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. Our system's not great. And I don't mean the people of care of our nurses and doctors. They work hard and long and are amazing. Some need to learn on their bedside manner. But, that's every job. Trust me. But still, they work hard and they work long and they deserve our respect and gratification. But we need more of them. We need more of them. Our healthcare system needs work. It needs, and I mean a lot of work. Not just a little tweaking. A whole restructuring, renovation of our healthcare system. I don't even need to change out that panel. We need to take down the side of the building and redesign it. That's what we need to do. Not just healthcare, there's a lot of things in this country that we need to fix. But it doesn't, because usually partisan politics seems to get in the way. Which is unfortunate. It's unfortunate if you're going to sit. And funny enough, I worked with a Conservative MP. And when we tried to get help from across party lines, what was the biggest stopper? It was a Conservative MP trying to reach out to an NDP or Liberal MP who had no intention because of my party getting back to me. I guarantee you they didn't even read my email. They just saw which MP it came from. And they just know it's not their caucus. And that's a sad thing. That, to me, is the saddest thing of all, if that's the truth of it. Now, I don't know, because who knows? But usually when you see which office it's coming from, and not even having the decency to get back to me, is, I think, the most heartbreaking of all. But you can change that. As people, you can change it. Make it an issue. Contact your member of parliament. Contact your provincial and city government officials. Tell them that this is an issue that needs to get solved. And it will, if enough people say it. But people have to say it. Sitting at your dinner table complaining about the government isn't going to do anything. Sitting wishing someone would do something. Just think if this is how people acted if our greatest people in history acted. If Abraham Lincoln just sat at the dinner table complaining to Mary Todd that nothing gets done about the slavery movement. Someone needs to do something. Imagine if he said that. Imagine if Winston Churchill just sat and complained about Hitler instead of it's just whining about it and saying someone should do something about that dictator. These great people in history took action because they knew they could do something and they did it. That's what we need to do. And that's how we get things done. We see what needs to be done and we do it. And that's why they're the greats, because they acted when people needed help and when there was a wrong thing and a right thing to do and no one else acted. History tells us people are going to get in the way. people are going to get in the way. We saw from, look in the case of Lincoln. To end slavery, the entire South rose against him in civil war, trying to end slavery in the United States. Churchill had members of his own party trying to take him down because he had the audacity to not appease to Hitler and instead wanted to fight him. It's you get that everywhere. But in these kind of situations, you quickly learn to know who is a friend of the movement, who's not. Who's willing to take the fight and who wants to sit because sitting would be easier than taking a stand. Trust me. It works when people take a stand. Don't think you don't have any authority or power. People are not going to listen to you. Because it's only together, as one people moving forward for a single common cause to push forward the doors open. Are we going to open them? And these are heavy doors. One person can't do it alone. Especially when it comes to ALS. So, contact your MP. Make sure they're aware of ALS. Share my videos on ALS. Have them talk to. I have constantly shared the 24 MPs on my team and ALS. Have them reach out to one of them and ask them what's going on. Because they know. Because they listened. And don't think you can't do anything, especially in democratic public society. And especially with social media. We got cameras. We have internet. Use them. But I digress. Let's continue on the fight. Build awareness, especially this month, because June is ALS Awareness Month. So let's do what we can. Build awareness for treatments and hopefully a cure. And let's keep up the fight. Thanks, everyone. And have a good one. And keep up the awareness.